guys, how is it going? It's the Fuzz. Reveal number 5. According to what I just read, it is supposed to be the last one. Not only that, we know our good friend Bezzy the Demon is coming to town. So, I hope we see him soon. Let's get to it. As normal, I haven't seen these cards yet, but I know that Bezarok is here. I know that he's gonna cost 3 mana, and I know that he's a demon in corruption. But then again, everybody already knew that. Are you ready? Bam. Oh, we get Bezarok right away. Oh, he costs 5 mana, not 3. Whoops. And he's a 3 corruption aspect card. First ever card that costs 3 of the same corruption. 4/3 stats, choose one when he enters the field. The enemy hero sacrifices creature with a combined level of at least 3. Okay. When he dies, summon demons with a combined level 3 on the field. Wait, summon from where? What? I'm gonna have to test this out before I figure out what's going on. Ooh. Arrow Barrage. It's a spell. Choose frontline or support line. The enemy hero distributes 4 damage among creatures. Oh. That's cool. Okay, what's the third card? Oh, that's the common. Okay. That's the rare. Ooh, Snowstorm. A blue spell. Double blue. It better be badass, right? The enemy hero distributes X damage among creatures he controls. And then freeze everything. Wait, what? And where X is the number of those creatures. Oh. Wait, are they frozen after? Man, okay, I feel like I have to test these cards a little bit before I figure out what's going on here, because I don't quite get it. So bear with me for a second. I'm gonna play against some AI and try to figure out exactly what is going on. I'll be right back. Okay, so wow, I've had a chance to test the new cards. Well, I didn't test Arrow Barrage because that card is pretty self-explanatory. So let's start with it. Arrow Barrage, an order spell, 3 mana, 1 aspect, and then you distribute 4 damage. Either on the front line or on the support. You choose which row, but your opponent chooses how to distribute the damage. So the effect is interesting in that you can kind of use it to either clean up a lot of annoying back row. Like if you're ever faced Wisdom and they have like Charged Orites and Disquisitive Spirits and stuff, you can just clear them all out with this, I guess. Or you can cast it on the front row to do the same thing. Now, because the damage is distributed, you can kind of think about how you want to do it. You could kill 1 4-health creature with this if it's alone, or you could kill a bunch of 1-health creatures. So how does this card compare to something like Fire Blast, right? Fire Blast is 3 damage to the 1 target, 1 to everybody else. Arrow Barrage seems weaker, to be honest, because your opponent gets to distribute the damage, whereas with Fire Blast, you kind of distribute the damage, and you also have that 1 damage AoE effect. So, while the flexibility seems pretty cool, the card doesn't seem that good. 3 mana seems a little bit expensive. That said, at 2 mana, it might be too good. I'm honestly not sure. That said, I'm glad Order got some kind of removal, even though it's a little bit... It's kind of not that easy to use, right? It's good in some situations. It can be useless in other situations. You could use it to kill a Blood Witch Harpy if it's the only creature on the back row. Yeah, I mean, it's not useless by any means. It could definitely find some use. I'm just not sure if a 3 mana spell like this is something you want to run. I guess it's some form of AoE, but it's only 4 damage, which is not that great. I think at 5 damage it might be pretty interesting, but as it is... like, okay, so what kind of order decks are we running? Angels. Are Angels gonna run this card? No, not really. They don't really bother with removal. If they were going to run removal, they would use Ray of Righteousness. So, Unlikely. Soldiers, perhaps? You could use it against soldiers, it'd be pretty funny. But even then, they usually want to reinforce their board. So, Arrow Barrage seems okay, but doesn't really seem constructed viable. In Trials, it's probably okay, because it's removal, and removal is always important to have. So, it's okay in Trials. Snowstorm. This is the card that interested me. It was one of the 2 cards I had to test to make sure I understand how it works. So, again, this is the distribution thing, where your opponent distributes X damage, where X is the number of creatures he or she has, and then distributes that damage among all of his creatures, right? So if he has 5 creatures, 5 damage is distributed at their choosing. And then all those creatures that were damaged this way are frozen. Now, if you look at the cost, it costs 2 wisdom, and while you can see that it would be good in wisdom, because wisdom has access to, you know, flash freeze, a cheap damage spell, and also advanced dares, you know, lightning storm, everything that was frozen. I'm not really sure why this is made double wisdom. The card, from the little testing I did, isn't that strong, so I don't see why they thought it was necessary to restrict it to one aspect. And the card isn't bad though. What I noticed is that if creature is already frozen, let's say if it has 4 health and it's already frozen, your opponent can still assign like more than 1 damage to it. So that kind of sucks. It makes multiple snowstorms kind of weak. The idea is very much like with Arrow Barrage. It's effective against a lot of small stuff, because if your opponent has a bunch of 1 health creatures, you just clear them out instantly. All of them are gone, which is great. If your opponent has a bunch of 2 health creatures, it probably will kill like half of them. So against really big boards, Snowstorm is pretty good. It kind of starts to suffer if your opponent has a lot of high health minions, because they could just assign all damage to the 1 minion, and that's not so good. You can help things along if you are advanced dares. If you lightning storm the board first and take 1 health from everything, it could help you clear a board of 2 health creatures. But just combining it with advanced dares seems like the best thing you can do with it. If you can freeze at least 2 things with this, then, you know, you'll probably be able to kill them both. But that's the thing. If your opponent has exactly 2 creatures, you're not going to freeze them both. He's just going to assign the damage to the same creature. Your opponent has to have a lot of stuff for this to be useful. That said, it is kind of a board clear. In a way, just like Aerostorm, it's a bit unwieldy. I think it's more powerful than Aerostorm, but it has to be supported with cards like Flash Freeze with other forms of damage. So I think this card would work pretty well in a deck that ran Fire Blast, because if you can freeze several things, Fire Blast is perfect. But it's double wisdom, and I don't quite get that. Will this card see play? Well, will Mono Wisdom see play? Would Mono Wisdom even run this? I mean, they already have access to things like Electrostatic Storm, Unstable Reactor, and Advanced Dares. Snowstorm isn't a bad card. I'm just not sure if it's playable. Again, it seems rather expensive. And when I was playing with the AI, like every time I'd play it, it didn't actually do that much, even when they had like 6 creatures on the board. Because like the 4 health creature would absorb 3 damage, and then maybe 1 other creature would get killed. So it's nice when you can freeze several things, but don't expect like miracles. So it's fine. The card is okay, but at the moment I'm not seeing any miracles with this one. Now, Eleanor can cast this for free. If you play her, you can play Snowstorm immediately, which is cool. Just something to think about. I'm glad we have a card like this, but again, I would just make this 1 blue, 1 whatever. I don't see any reason why this card is double wisdom. In Trials, it's not great because you have to be double wisdom to play it, but you generally only go double wisdom if you're already advanced dares, or if you have cards like Thunderstorm Titan, Dust Titan, and Lamp. So if you do have those cards, Snowstorm is okay, but otherwise, you're not going to go double wisdom just for this card. And now, the main course, the card everybody's been waiting for, Big Badass Bezarok. Oh my goodness. So, let's just go over this. 5 mana, joins the ranks of the very few creatures that cost 5 mana, 4 aspect, because of course he's 4 aspect, and 3 corruption. So, again, the first ever creature to cost more than 2 of a certain aspect, right? You know, even all the biggest cards like Karthus and Dragon only cost 2 out of the 4, which means you can kind of splash them. With Bezarok, there's no splashing. Straight up corruption. So, for such a cost, he better have one badass effect. Well, it turns out he has a really badass effect. So let's go over this. 4-3, that's an interesting stat line with 2 speed, kind of like a lamp body. It's decent. Choose 1. Okay, so more choose effects. I like choose effects that make cards flexible. Number 1, when Bezarok enters the field, the enemy hero sacrifices creatures with a combined level of at least 3. So we can assume that your opponent could sacrifice more than that, but at the very least has to give you 3. So if they do not have a 3 level creature, they're going to have to sack 2 creatures when you play this, which is pretty strong. It's almost like casting Infernal Tributes. If they have only 1 big creature like Antriel, they'll just have to sack that, which is again pretty good. Now, while that effect alone is already pretty nice, it's that second effect that it just blows my mind. So when Bezarok dies, you summon demons with a combined level of 3 onto the field. So what exactly does this mean? Here's what it means. When you play Bezarok, you are given the choice of one of those 2. If you choose the second option, nothing happens until Bezarok dies. At this point, you are presented with the 5 demons, the other 5 demons, I mean, you know, Vulture, Nightbringer, Succubus, Bedeviled, and Harpy. You choose one to summon. If that demon was Succubus, that's it, nothing else happens. If you chose something else, like one of the 2 aspect ones, then you get to pick again until you get at least 3. These demons are summoned from nowhere. They do not come from your hand. They do not come from your deck. They are summoned. That is completely insane, and here's why. You could summon 3 Vultures and mill your opponent for 12. You could summon a free Succubus. Pretty good. You could summon a Harpy and a Vulture. In fact, I mean, you'll never summon the Nightbringer because Vulture is just better. So, wow. So, just looking at this card, both effects are completely ridiculous, but you combine them both, and Bezarok is possibly the baddest creature in the game right now. One of the favorite things that I started doing against the AI was have 2 of these guys with a portal. You play the first Bezarok, you choose the death option, the second option, then you immediately play the first Bezarok for the first option. The first Bezarok dies, you summon like 3 Vultures or a Succubus or whatever, and then your opponent has to sacrifice a bunch of creatures. Oh god. So yeah, the card is completely ridiculous. Will this see play in Demons? As if I have to answer this question. Now, interestingly, in Demons, you actually can't play him on curve, because he's 1 aspect and 1 mana above Succubus, so you're gonna have to wait a turn if you search him out on turn 4. So, because of that, you're not gonna run 4 Bezaroks and Demons. That's a bit much. You are gonna run some. An extra Bezarok, I mean, just being able to search out something like this is obviously completely insane, right? That goes without saying. But Demons tend to play in a very fast and furious kind of way, where they don't have a lot of time. So you might not even have that much time to play him. So what I'm thinking is, the version that I made, the aggro Demons, might just have 1, but a different version, one that has, for instance, landslides or something, some consistent ways to disable Portal, might want more Bezaroks because they're expecting to go into the late game a little bit. And in that case, Bezarok is just ridiculous. You can just play him to kill a bunch of creatures, or play him to get a bunch of creatures. I mean, you could summon like Bedeviled, Fiend, and Vulture, and then Vulture like recycles your entire library. Yeah, it's insane. I mean, he has to die first. Now keep that in mind, he has to die, so if he gets bounced back by Tornado Outbreak, nothing happens. So keep that in mind. More importantly, because the demons are summoned from nowhere, if your opponent helms this and it dies, they get to summon stuff, which is terrifying. So yeah, the card is pretty ridiculous. I gotta say, when you look at Zera and you compare Zera to this guy, it's a really sad comparison. I mean, this guy just, he laughs at Zera at how powerful he is. I mean, yeah, his body is not great, not bad, but the thing is, the effects are just the ability to you could think of him as he's almost like Karthus, right? If you play him, you kill stuff for free immediately. You can't target, but still. But you have a second option to go for a slower play where he's gonna summon like a succubus for something for you. So yeah, the card seems pretty good, pretty good. In fact, it's making me want to go back to the nature build because bouncing this guy back and forth is almost like bouncing Karthus. Very similar, except against smaller creatures it's much better because you can kill 3 level 1 creatures, for instance. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. So this is basically a long way of me saying Bezarok is a good card, a very good card, and I am glad that Corruption finally got that awesome huge body, you know, this huge demon, and you don't just have to play Bezarok in demons. Not at all. This card is more than powerful enough to be played in any Corruption deck. Although I would think if you are going to play this guy, you might want to splash some Wisdom for card draw, because going to 4 aspects without Horizons is a bit tough. So another thing, Drain Dares is another deck. You know, Casual Dares is a deck that could definitely play him, because Casual Dares does go up really high in aspect, and having a Bezarok or 2 kicking around as an extra removal, or that extra, hey, try to kill this, I'm gonna get another free succubus, or I'm gonna mill you for 12, or just ridiculous. Yeah, you can expect to see this card played. Absolutely. 100% guaranteed Bezarok will be played. It's just like Wolf Tongue, it's really powerful epic. This is what epics should be like. Absolutely badass, but not like auto includes in everything. Bezarok is a very specific card for Corruption only, or decks that almost strictly run Corruption. So I expect to see him again. Drain Dares can probably use him. I don't see why not. Demons, obviously, and really any mono Corruption deck that maybe tries to play a little bit more control would be foolish not to add Bezarok to their deck. It's basically their Karthus. And, yeah, I have to say, this Bezarok definitely earns his name as the gatekeeper of the Abyss, because once this guy comes to the party, hell follows. Anyways, thanks for watching this one. This is supposed to be, again, the last reveal, which means we're gonna see many more cards very soon. I'm looking forward to beating people over the head with a ridiculous card like Bezarok. It's gonna be fun. He definitely is the treat of this reveal, and it's really cool that they decided to show him before the rest of the expansion, because in a way he is what we've all been waiting for. Is he better than the previous version? The previous version was 3 mana instead of 5, and had 3 speed and 5 attack and had unstoppable. And yeah, no, the previous Bezarok was completely insane. But this Bezarok, I don't think is necessarily completely broken. Kind of close to broken. Oh man, I mean, the fact that you can search this out, I'm really glad they made him 5 mana, because it is an expensive card, and I think for a card of this power level, it's appropriate. We'll have to see. We'll have to see just how Mr. Bezarok does, but he's gonna be summoning a lot of demons to the party. That's for sure. So yeah, that's it for this one. I'll see you next week. I don't know what's gonna happen, if they're gonna just give us all the cards, or they're gonna give us each of the guys an aspect to preview. Don't know. We'll find out really soon. Stay awesome, and I'll see you out there. Oh, by the way, in Trials, I almost forgot, if you get Bezarok and you're playing Mono Corruption, thank your lucky stars, because it's completely fucking crazy in Trials.